There we go.
Welcome to developers. Yeah. This is episode maybe 13 to 15, somewhere in there.
We are totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess so. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
We are in the process of walking through every HashiCorp project. And before we started this stream, Chris said, why don't we just wrap them all up in this single episode? So we're going to speed run all the ones we haven't done yet.
Not all of, just edited highlights, I think.
Some highlights. I'm just joking. I'm messing around. My name is Ian Jennings, and this is Christian Schiller.
Hey, how you doing?
And do you want to tell us a little bit more about what we're looking at today?
Yeah, I thought it'd be interesting to look at HashiCorp for a couple of different reasons. We have done that over the past 2 episodes because, A, they're a company that's been around for some time, and it's interesting to see how the products have changed over time, or how they've developed their kind of the developer experience, I suppose. And they're also a company that the founder, who's Mitchell Hashimoto, I always forget the first name, actually put out these principles of developer experience several years ago. So it was also kind of interesting to follow a company to see if they stuck to their word, I guess. And so far, I think, especially for you, Ian, not being so familiar with this world, you've generally found it okay, I think, yeah?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at most of the projects we've done, they've been just a few command line tools in YAML file or YAML equivalent stuff. So it's been, for the power that you're harnessing by using these things, it's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah. So the 2 or 3 I was going to attempt to maybe look at today, we did Vagrant and Packet and Terraform, which are 3 of the early ones. I feel like we should look at Console because it's used quite a lot. And then we might jump forward a bit to one of the new ones like Waypoint, and we'll see.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to see the modern stuff for sure.
So let's do Console first, which is about the same time as Terraform. It's service mesh, which is controversial. I was actually reading a blog post the other day about, do you really need a service mesh? We won't address that. It's basically kind of another service that you throw on top of all your other services, so all those services know how to communicate with all the other services. Yeah.
Wikipedia says, a service discovery platform, a fully featured service mesh, a distributed key value storage for application configuration. So what I take from this is that it's kind of like a DNS, where it's like keeping track of everything that's available to you so that you can find all the servers. Is that what this is?
Sort of, yeah, loosely speaking. Yeah, pretty much. In an abstracted term. And I'd say Console is probably one of the first. Again, we've seen this a few times with HashiCorp stuff. I think it's one of the first service mesh, maybe. I can't quite remember. There might have been one around the same time as I interviewed the creator of it for my podcast, and I really should remember. Linkerd, I think, might be one of the others that came out about the same time. But yeah, I think a lot of people are now starting to say that it's an unnecessary overcomplication. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's jump into a screen share. Do you want to drive or shall I?
I wouldn't mind you driving. I'm curious how the setup will be if we don't have any.
Yeah, I'm
mesh service right
curious
now.
Too, to be honest with you. So we'll see. There we go. Let's bring that in. Cool. So it's the webpage, Console, getting started on Kubernetes. So I saw that, and whilst we were just chatting, I quickly fired up Docker the desktop. I do need to switch context because at the moment I am connected to a Kubernetes elsewhere, which I really need to not connect to. So give me one. This is where I have to remember the command, which I can never remember. A programmer's friend on the CLI command I've discovered recently is Control R to search, because I'm endlessly forgetting.
I think I don't know what plugin I have, but it basically does that automatically, I think.
I have so many plugins that I forget which plugins I have and I forget to use them. I've been trying this quite cool one recently called Fig, which, yeah, it seemed to break every now and then. So now I can't show you, so ignore me. But anyway, in principle, it's quite cool. Oops. Forgot to... There we go. So I actually have Kubernetes running in the background already, and I have a Nextcloud instance running here. So that's good. That's reasonably
that'll probably, exactly.
So let's have a look. Excuse me with MTLF. Getting started with console service mesh for Kubernetes. Understanding. Interesting. Well, we'll start with that. I kind of like that sometimes where you start with the principle and then you, start with the practice and then go into the principle. Access to a cluster. Yep, we have that. Using Minikube with VirtualBox. No, that should be fine. Helm. I do have Helm. I do not have the console Kubernetes command line tool. So that's...
So before,
and yes,
I guess I'm curious, like, why doesn't Docker just provide a list of them? Like,
well, it does. I was actually literally kind of about to say that in that on a local Kubernetes cluster, this is going to be a little bit pointless demo because, they all kind of are aware of each other.
Yeah.
And Docker for Desktop kind of handles it, but let's just go with it. This one especially is somewhat difficult to really realistically test here, I think. So yeah.
So what is the main like from the business standpoint? Is this because we're spinning up, like, we have this giant infrastructure, we're spinning up servers up and down. We don't know how many there are really because it's all automated. And so therefore, when I have like a router or something, I need a mesh. I need to know what exists. Is that what this is?
Yeah, from what I remember, so Kubernetes now has some inbuilt functionality to handle that kind of thing, but not everything is running on Kubernetes, for example. You might have legacy services or bare metal services that also need to be all made aware of each other. There's also a shared state in that key value store, that kind of thing. Yeah. And a lot of this is starting to come more and more out of the box in Kubernetes and things like that, which is possibly where the argument comes from. But let's okay.
So when I worked at PubNub, which does data stream service, we had a service called Presence, and there were a lot of experiments to do cloud KV store. And it's actually a pretty hard problem because imagine you have two boxes and one says true and one says false for some key. It's like you don't know who's right, and does it by time or is it by authority or whatever?
Yep.
And it's funny that there's a single case here. I mean, this is more about the existence of a box, right? Like being up or down. But I could see them being like, this is a difficult problem. We're going to make a solution, but there's always been trouble conveying the value of that.
Yeah. It may be more than just that. I'm not 100% sure. Like etcd is one of the other popular key value stores. And for example, in the company I work for, our open source project, M3, uses etcd for this very fact to kind of know the state of different instances in the cluster and things like that. And that's a shared state between those nodes in that cluster as well, which is kind of more crucial, I suppose, as well. Okay, I'm just setting up here. What did I just do? I'm just starting. Deploy the console Helm chart. I suppose the control plane, this is kind of a term that comes up a lot in this service mesh discussion. But the service mesh, which includes a console server, client controller, and injector in a dedicated console Kubernetes namespace. I did some work a couple of months ago on Kuma from Kong, which is another service mesh, and all this is pretty familiar, actually. And hopefully
I feel like we're three episodes into HashiCorp, and we're now in the so deep that the language is just like all HashiCorp branded products, and it's it's
so far all of this has been somewhat standard, but I get the feeling they were definitely the early days to these concepts. But what I'm worried about here is I'm not seeing. I think they're actually missing a command because it said they were added to the console namespace, and this is by default just looking in the default namespace. This is Kubernetes in the weeds here. I think it's that. Yes, there we go. There's a typo in the docs. We've discovered our first typo in the HashiCorp docs.
What was the typo?
They missed using the console namespace. Yep. Now, to access the console UI, set up port forwarding. This is all, again, fairly standard stuff.
Well, I think we have some Kubernetes employees watching, or sorry, some HashiCorp employees, right? Because we did get some replies.
Possibly.
Yeah.
We'll see. Actually, I don't think their docs are open source.
Refresh the page, see if they fixed it.
The power.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this should. Yep. I mean, things are happening. So what this is showing us, I'm not really sure right now, but it's an interface on our. And again, there's lots of different ways to look at this kind of data, but let's just follow for now and not kind of jump into making judgments on it, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, why don't we reiterate what happened for my girlfriend who's watching who doesn't know anything about tech, basically, or about code. So you've launched like 10 servers.
What have I done?
Right, in Kubernetes, using Docker. And now you want to make a central place where you can find all the servers, basically, and that's console. So then you launch
to have a common place where all the services can find each other, and there is a common state of the services that they can all refer to. It's actually probably the more crucial thing. Like, database is up, says, one service writes to console saying database is up, and another service comes in and says, is the database up? And queries, and then it knows, okay, the database is up, so I'll go ahead and do this thing. It's kind of, these are all very basic examples, but that kind of in principle, I think. So this is just kind of also showing us a command line way of doing the same thing we've got here. So let's get into something a bit more meaty here. Deploy a demo application. You can explore console service mesh by installing a demo application. Demo application named HashiCorp. Hey, it includes a set of 3 services and a post-school, isn't it? Postgres? Anyway, database. It allows you to order a cup of coffee. Yeah. All right. Open a new terminal and deploy the demo application to your cluster. I assume that means it needs to be in this same folder. Again, I have a keyboard shortcut for doing this, and I can't remember what it is.
Classic developer workspace.
Am I in the right folder?
I have keys on my keyboard. I don't know what they do. One of them, for a while, I was getting confetti on the screen. Have you ever seen that? Yeah. Because Loom has a shortcut that fires confetti, and it was like bound to one of my macro keys. And so if I mistyped this, there would be confetti on the screen.
Oh dear. I haven't quite got that, but yeah. Services use an annotation that allows console to automatically inject a proxy. This, I always get a bit mixed up with proxies, to be honest with you, but like a kind of pseudo pointer at a service. The proxies create a data plane. Service mesh love to use this concept of planes, control plane, data plane. I think it's a bit of a fancy term for a way to control things, a way to get data from things, I think, basically. Yeah, something like that. I'm grossly simplifying everything, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't look like they are ready yet. They're still initting. I mean, I'm running this on my local machine. So they might take a little bit of time. Yeah,
quite a bit of things happening.
Yeah, this is also all the Nextcloud stuff. I'm probably killing my... It's not too bad.
Oh, I've configured that on my own machines. Stats.
I did look at stats, but I already have free access to iStats, so it was kind of like... They're all coming up.
Okay.
We can now see the status has changed, but they will take a little bit of time. You can explore the demo application, and we can't quite yet. So this is actually this is also something that Service Mesh do. Some of them is exposing services and things like that. So they're obviously individual services tools that will kind of do all this stuff for you, but Service Mesh has a tendency to bundle it all together. So when I looked at Kuma, for example, it also had things like Prometheus monitoring all built in that you could just kind of enable. So it's obviously what people may or may not want. You're making some assumptions to include by default, but it's kind of this somewhat all-in-one thing. I wonder if these will also show us here what's going on. Everything is starting to slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Live streaming plus running a lot in Docker is always a bit of a killer. There we go. So they're coming up slowly.
I see.
Yep.
So you cloned the coffee Docker.
It was all already in the Helm, the repository that we cloned earlier. So that's still taking a little bit of time. It's taking a concerning amount of time, but we'll just have to wait. It's not erroring, at least. So it's just getting ready. I don't have my new Super Mac quite yet, Ian. But apparently Docker doesn't run so well in it anyway yet. So that's still going. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck on this step until that's working. I think. I don't know. I mean, in theory, if we... that's it. I do know. There we go. I think this won't work until that's working. Let's see. Oh, no, it is. It just probably will fail. And then HashiCorp, in theory, will be available here, but it probably won't be yet. Oh, no, it is actually. Oh, the front end is available. There we go.
Cool.
That is... I don't like... It's the right weather for spiced latte, but I'm a coffee purist.
I am too, but I won't go into it.
So I don't know if this refreshed the page a few times. Okay. It seems to be working then, I guess. What's changing? What's actually changing?
Yeah, are we trying to generate logs or something?
I think so, yeah. Go to the console UI and you'll find the HashiCorp services registered. Mesh with proxies. Oh yeah, it looks like we triggered it just in time. Do we click on it? Or select the product API service. The topology tab indicates that requests to the public API goes to the product API before accessing the database. Console embeds a graph aggregating successful requests and error metrics, I guess, in here, but it says configure. I don't know if that will work or not, but oh, okay. No, that's taking me to a docs page, so no, it won't. Okay, so it can exist, I suppose. Is the question? Is the thing there? And there's a lot built in here. Like I recognize a lot of these numbers as kind of observability metrics, like P99, response times, that kind of thing. So we're getting an overview relatively quickly here. And in theory, I think if it's similar to every other service mesh I've used, you just add like an annotation to the Kubernetes resources in one of many ways, and it all gets kind of picked up.
So this topology is automatically generated by the services it finds and the network traffic. So it's monitored. Is it proxying? Somehow it's proxying like your connection to Postgres, right? Yep.
If we kind of dug into the files, we'd probably get
So instead of providing the Postgres URL address, you would provide a hash code.
Yeah.
It's
That's
proxies through.
one option. Yeah, that's one option. Yeah, it's all kind of internally exposed. Yeah.
Okay. This
See,
is
I don't know what is actually in here. I don't think there's going to be much from the console perspective. That's mostly all handled at a Kubernetes level. I think it's all just going to be, it's all just Kubernetes config files here.
okay.
Basically.
I see. So console is just displaying this information or letting us know what's
I
available.
think once we, here we go. So this is basically, no, that's not it. It's probably going to be something in here that is, maybe it works slightly differently from the service mesh I've used before then, where you had to add an annotation. Maybe it just takes over your entire cluster in this case. I'm not sure. In other ones I've used, you had to kind of tell it to use it. But, oh, no, maybe this is it here. Yeah, I think it looks like it. So there's different ways to kind of extend Kubernetes these days. Yeah, here we go. So here's the annotations here. Yeah.
I see.
So this is basically saying send stuff to console effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think that is very, very surface level, but I think maybe that's kind of how loosely how console works. You can see that at a basic level it's pretty easy. The complexity, of course, is it's way more in the detail. But seeing as we want to do a bit of a whistle-stop tour, I think apart from finding that one typo, we effectively found it as easy to get started with as previous projects.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still getting caught up on Kubernetes and Docker and things. So
it's it's a world.
It is.
It's a world. I'm interested to very quickly actually understand how that kind of querying aspect might work, that data plane aspect. I'm not 100% sure where to... service discovery, maybe?
I'm going to explore the product page to see.
I'm not 100% sure. Maybe I think my use case that I mentioned is sort of vaguely connected, but maybe a little. I'm not seeing it exclusively, but you generally can kind of query the key value store to find out certain things if you wanted to. Anyway, let me shut down all this stuff here. And that was console, I think, relatively sensical. I will say it was certainly easier than some other service mesh I've tried. We didn't really have any issues, so that's good. Shall we? I reckon we should just jump straight into one of the more recent ones, or do you want to take a diversion down any of the others?
I was thinking. I'm actually doing some work already, doing some cross-platform deployments. I would like to try Waypoint, and how about I drive?
Okay. Yeah, this is the new one as well. So I'll drop my screen share and off you go, and I will sort of loosely follow along in the background.
I may need to drop off to give Mac permission to record. It's classic. I don't know. Yeah, we're gonna have to quit and reopen.
Okay, Ian will be back shortly. I'll describe Waypoint in the meantime. Okay. It's actually interesting because Waypoint is so new, it doesn't even have a Wikipedia entry. Let's open it up. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. And you're back on Mac. I always like having you as a Windows user because you get to break things more. So pulling up waypointproject.io, take a look, and what does it say to you? I suppose is the first question.
All right, I'm getting. What is going on here with this new Mac UI? All right, I don't know how to use computers. Here we go. So, Waypoint allows developers to deploy, manage, and observe applications through consistent abstraction of underlying infrastructure. So it sounds like a updated version of Vagrant to me, and other things with more branded platforms as deployment options. So it's kind of abstracting the VM and Docker kind of idea. And yeah, like, I don't know. I guess I'm a little confused by why there's Node, but also React. So that means it's going to be static and backend, but also we also have branded platforms too, like DigitalOcean and AWS. So we'll see. And then the next thing I see too is I keep seeing this everywhere, like developer experience as like the first heading. Have you noticed this?
Yeah, but I mean, I think that kind of relates to why we went down this path in the first place in some respects. It's like it is something they have generally called out for some time, not just jumping on the recent bandwagon, but yeah.
Waypoint provides a simple, consistent abstraction for developers to easily build, deploy, and release applications. Waypoint up, deploying, Kubernetes client connected. Okay, powerful operators. Use Docker. So this looks very much like Vagrant, right?
It's so what I understand about it, and I have a slight insight because I actually interviewed the project manager of it, and Mitchell Hashimoto is actively involved in it. So there's a thread coming from beginning to end there. It is like Vagrant, but it takes everything a whole bunch of levels of abstraction up in that they've tried to make something where it really doesn't matter what you're using. You kind of describe what it is you want and it's handled. I feel like there's a few barriers for them accomplishing that, like in terms of providers and things, but I think that's the basic principle, is you have to know very little about what it is, what's going on under the scenes. This is why it might be interesting to get your opinion on this. So
Brew tab HashiCorp.
I'll follow along. I'm actually just noticing this scoop for Windows. I've only ever heard of Chocolatey.
Yeah, me either.
I will save that to look at later.
Oh, there we go. Let me know if I need to make I can probably benefit from this larger. All right, brew and tap HashiCorp brew. I'll just copy that. Paste. Okay, so we are installing Waypoint. It is a signed binary. And we don't need to update. It's probably get us it. And once that happens, we can just run Waypoint. Okay, artifact build management auth method. Wow. Okay, let's just keep going. I'm like, is this auth method as in our auth method or their auth method, right? And if it's our auth method, that's kind of crazy that there's artifacts and authentication in the same.
I don't know. It said validate the installation. That's all I'm reading at the moment. Everything else, we'll come to that later. I do. One thing I have liked in all the tutorials they have is they always have this example repository to play with.
Yeah,
I like that. It's something that more people should do, and not enough people do. Yeah.
We need to install the Waypoint binary. Okay, we've done that. Clone the repos locally. Cloning into Waypoint examples. Waypoint examples applications. You'll need a local clone. Navigate to Kubernetes. Node.js, and I don't know if I have K8s on here, so that will be interesting.
If you have Docker for desktop, it actually, interestingly, it takes you through all the steps you need to do. It's really, if you follow the Docker for desktop path in this tutorial, it actually literally tells you everything you need to do, which is interesting. It's kind of taking it a level above to people who maybe have not really set up Kubernetes before. which is interesting.
I don't have Docker desktop. I think I'm going to be. This is where I I fall off.
It doesn't take too long, or you might want to try. What are the other options? Kind is pretty quick install as well.
Kind. Okay.
It's just another option, basically.
Okay, I need to install Kind.
I'm following along as well. And I've actually hit an error, so this is interesting.
Okay, create a Kubernetes environment with Kind. Create a cluster. Yeah, failed to create cluster. Failed to get Docker info.
Oh,
I need a Kubernetes distribution already.
I think you still need. Okay.
I still need Docker.
You still need Docker, or there you. Oh God, this is getting in the weeds. You can also, you can in theory use the Mac hypervisor, but that gets. Oh, I don't know. That's too edge casey. You may just have to install Docker for desktop. It's probably time you did.
I feel like I've done it 3 times or so on the show.
But I think it was on a different computer last time.
It's true. Yeah. I have probably 3 times as many machines as I did when we started.
So I've actually hit an error, which is interesting. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, do you want to take over? Because all I'm doing is installing Docker.
Yeah, all right. Because I've actually hit a problem. So I was following the steps up to here, install this server, and I got a timeout, which is interesting. Not quite sure why. Pretty sure. Why is that also? Oh, yes. I have a lot going on.
Oh, yes, you do.
Waypoint is running, though, which is... Actually, oh, God, all of it's running. Oh, wow, I should really shut this all down. That might be half the problem. I don't really want to... I don't know if there's a port conflict. Let's try again.
So Docker and HashiCorp, like it's interesting how often the docs reference Docker because Docker is not a HashiCorp product.
No. Containers are, they're not even. To be honest with you, they're not even the cool thing anymore. They're almost past the point of being cool. But Docker, especially for local development, which is the types of tutorials we're going through, that just tends to be the main thing you would use really for local kind of experimentation. Let's see if we can.
I am deep in the. I'm upgrading an application from Vue 2 to Vue 3, and Electron like 6 to Electron 12 right now. That's where I'm at.
Yep.
So I'm deep in the front end world.
Now I've also already hit this problem. I'm trying to figure out how to delete what I have so I can start again. Release, maybe? Install. I want the opposite of install. This is weird, actually. It's the first time I've hit a problem with any of the ones they've done. I mean, this is a relatively new project, so...
I am stuck on an activated Kubernetes within Docker Desktop.
It's a whole other...
Yeah.
I think, how can I do this? I want to delete...
Oh, okay. It looks like that worked.
Maybe it's mentioned down further, how I can Destroy the deployment. There we go. It is down there. Destroy auto approve. Huh. It's slightly contrary command. Eesh.
Kubernetes.
Oh. Oh dear, I think I've messed things up this time. I got myself stuck in some kind of. I'm not sure how to delete the stuff because it's. Is there like a force or something? I don't know. Let's see. Okay.
I think I've got Waypoint installed. Where are you?
I have it installed, but for some reason it timed out at one of the earlier steps, and now I've kind of got a bunch of half-created resources that are stopping me starting again, basically. Okay. All right. I think I'm clean now. I think I can try again. Do you want to jump back in, or are you still?
Sure. Yeah, I'm still going. I just validated that Waypoint is running.
There you go.
Now explore the Waypoint .hcl file to learn more about the application configuration. In the Node.js directory, we are going to run this. Okay, and we have this now looks familiar from the past episodes.
Yep.
Node.js server in dev environment, build, use Docker. Okay, deploy, use Kubernetes. Oh, that's cool. Release. Okay, this must be the demo then. The ability to say Docker locally and Kubernetes remotely. Yeah. Okay. The terminal will show the contents of the Waypoint HCL file. Yes, we have seen that. The build clause defines a Waypoint will build. The pack tells it to use the most relevant cloud native pack. Blah, blah, blah. Node.js where it deploys, release. Okay, cool. With these configurations in place, execute the following command in order to initialize the Waypoint with this configuration. You can now call Waypoint up. This is really nice. HashiCorp is like an artist who like keeps releasing better versions of the same album over and over again.
I think it's almost a bit more like remixes. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I kind of see what you mean.
Well, I mean, we've done the same thing now almost 3 or 4 times.
Exactly. Right? No, exactly, and that's what I like. It's predictable. It's relatively predictable. It's relatively predictable, which is kind of what you want, you know. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm fixing my problems, and hopefully I'll be able to catch up with you.
I am. Yeah, I really had a slowdown at the beginning with Docker, but now I'm taken off.
I think I'm the opposite. I think my Docker just has too much going on.
Where is this? Okay, so this is deploying to some cloud server that they are paying for.
I wasn't really following along with you, so I'm not entirely sure what you're reading, but maybe.
Well, Waypoint up deploys it to waypoint.run.
Oh, okay, so it's like one of those kind of Zeit. No, not called Zeit anymore.
Zeet. Or
no, they are called Zeit. Sorry, their runnable thing like Netlify, that kind of stuff. So that's where they're going for some of the money making, I suppose. Yeah.
Cool. This Node.js app was deployed with a Waypoint. All right. Waypoint will show you we'll show the result of your deployment in terminal along with their specific preview URL. You can cool. Wow, I'd recommend Vim. This is hardcore.
Recommend
Like
filtered
open the
what?
index in your preferred editor. VI. Like whoa.
Oh, okay. That's opinionated.
Like
That is opinionated.
yeah. Your preference, of course, it's Vim. On line 18, change the text to anything you like, such as today's date. And you'll just, okay. So this is trying to show me live reload. Oh no, you just redeploy. Trying to show me redeploy, and probably it'll be way quicker now because it will detect what changed.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I think I just saw that it's going to Heroku.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It was very quick. Yeah, using Builder, Heroku build packs 20. So I don't know. It might just be using the Heroku build packs.
Yeah.
Which is,
Those build packs are used in other things. I know that.
Yeah.
Huh. Intriguing. Well, I'm glad we only decided on 2 because we're getting close to time and I'm stuck.
Yeah,
but I think you're getting somewhere, so that's good.
Well, I've been able to deploy this stuff. That's pretty cool. So this
I'm basically having to clear out my entire Kubernetes cluster to start again.
This is the first thing I've always looked for. How do I run my own Heroku? And there's a bunch of crazy solutions, and this is the one that actually makes the most sense, I think, so far.
Yeah, there are a lot of solutions actually, and they vary in complexity. I'm familiar with a few. I have done some work actually with a couple of the other options in this space, so I will say nothing, but I have no opinions for now.
I have all the opinions here. Yeah, I could have all the opinions.
You go wild.
When I was consulting, I was consulting for like 12 companies at a single time, and I remember being able to just say nothing about anything for a little.
Oh yeah.
Silence. Continued silence.
Okay.
Waypoint exec bin bash. So this is going to allow me to run. Yeah. So what's interesting is Heroku has the ability to run bash, interactive terminal from your terminal, like basically SSH. And this is at the end of the day, that's what we're getting here. But it's funny because it's being deployed in this entirely different way. But it looks like we're just on Heroku, but I don't know how to.
Yeah, and I think that was the idea I got from it. That was it's a very much you don't need to know where you're putting things.
Yes.
Waypoint will figure it out.
Yeah.
Based on the configuration you give.
So how can I find out if I am on a Heroku server?
Is there a command for that? I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, there would be like a domain binding somewhere, right? Like. I'm really impressed also with the collaborative, the way it's it's Docker and it's deploying to Heroku and it also works with AWS. It's not like one of these things everything's in our ecosystem.
Well, this is where I feel like they may run into some difficulties though, because for something like this to work, this level of abstraction, you need to convince people to build providers to make that possible. So you have to convince people to do that, or you do it yourself.
Yeah.
And then there's a level of quality amongst those as well, and you will still get some subtleties here and there. So this is always the problem with abstraction layers. They could sometimes hit a wall. But yeah, I think that's the general principle of it. I think we could see a lot of the heritage of Vagrant and Packer in here, and Terraform to a certain degree. I feel like a lot of people would ask, does this replace Terraform? I'm not sure. Or is it a supplement to it? I don't know. Yeah. So I'm still hitting timeout areas to the Waypoint server. I get the feeling that something else running in my Kubernetes cluster has the same port, and that's causing a problem. And we're running close to time, so I don't think I can be bothered digging into it.
So this is the UI for the Waypoint server, and we can see the Node.js has started, and it's very it's really nice. It looks like they're using some kind of consistent design language too between console and.
Yeah. This also reminds me of a few other things as well. Yeah, it's
So
nice.
also something very nice was that the authentication to get in, like I think this is actually locked up, but it just was a single line to log into it. Is that it? Is there something else? Destroy the deployment.
That's
Okay.
fine. Go wild.
Well,
That's
what?
there's this concept now in this kind of microservices and containers world of pets and cattle. Like you shouldn't get too attached to your services because you can just create them again. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. I mean, this is my favorite out of all the services.
I would be interested in
Yeah.
digging further myself. Actually, I think as much as we've covered in other places with the with even with Terraform, and me thinking, oh, I could hook up a lot of stuff to this, and you sort of have to address that point, of course, of when does the effort become worth the reward, which can take a bit of time to figure out, but. I think also this is my other concern at the moment. What I said about the provider. So the only integrations at the moment outside of local, I think, are AWS Azure Cloud. So yeah, if you want to, so Google Cloud, not Cloud, and that is where I think you might start to hit walls with some of this, something quite new. And I get the impression that these days, because of the market it's aimed at, those are where most people are hosting things. So you may end up finding yourself not finding it as constructive for people like you and I in the long run, because we're too small scale, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also true. I mean, AWS, if it supports AWS, that's enough, right?
Yeah.
But also then it's like, why bother? Because part of the value is being able to move off. So it's
That's exactly the point.
yeah.
All right, should we do a quick wrap up of our feelings generally of HashiCorp stuff and
Sure.
what we've learned?
Well, we've spent 3 hours going through the HashiCorp world, exploring the past 10 years of developer experience from
3 hours.
Probably, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, which is kind of impressive if you think about it. 4 products, 3 hours, and 10 years of like iteration, right? It looks like it's kind of like watching the beginning of like blues turn into rock and roll to me. I don't know why this album analogy is coming out, but we don't
live in Austin. I mean, it's fine.
We just don't have we don't have such much. This is like one of the most mature companies in the space, right?
Yeah,
so,
you could probably look at something like AWS and Google Cloud, and they would probably have something comparable, but their stuff is usually much more complex. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, they don't have the 10 commandments of DX like you're mentioning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what I've seen. It's interesting because you do get bounced around a bit between websites. But there is this learn.hashicorp.com, which seems to be the starting point for a lot of things. And it's also interesting because it breaks down each project into where you might want to use it, and also combines some of the projects and products together as well to see how you'd combine them. So that's kind of a good place to make a start as well. So, yeah.
I think the front end, just like the website, the learning and the materials are excellent. The language is great. Like almost every example we ran, except for one that you encountered today, worked.
Yeah.
Everything was extremely concise, right? Like there was nothing you didn't need, and if you did, it was easy to skip. There were multiple options for every install. They weren't pushy about anything. It was really that's one of the best onboardings I think I've seen.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. Good. All right. Well, we're not quite sure what we're going to do next. We may take a bit of a break for the holidays and restart next year, or we may pull out a surprise subject in 2 weeks' time. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm onboarding with Tailwind. That might be fun to do with Tailwind, or
we did Tailwind before.
Did we do? Oh, we did do Tailwind. We did. Maybe that's why I'm onboarding with it now. Well, we can revisit it from a experience point of view. Yeah. We have done Tailwind. Is there a Tailwind competitor?
Probably. I'm sure there is. But yeah, let's we'll figure that out. But so either there'll be something in 2 weeks at well, for me that's 5:30 p.m. UTC +1. I don't know what it is for you. Or we'll see you in the new year with something else. We may have some interviews as well, actually. We have a few interviews.
Interviews would be great. Yeah.
Interview subjects we may line up around the subject as well. So watch this space. And yeah, do you want to sign us off, Ian?
Sure. This has been Developers. Did I mess it up for the first time? We'll have to watch the replay. My name's Ian Jennings. This is Christian Chilla. And we will see you in 2 weeks or 4 weeks.
Take care, everybody.